64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 6. Have a nice life, I don't love.
Okay, we're back for another Is This Song Good podcast. And this time we're doing the one that I picked, which is called I Don't Love. And the name of the band is Have a Nice Life. In keeping with my thematic, picking the worst named bands ever.
That one's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's memorable, but in not a good way.
Right.
I couldn't remember what was the song name and what was the band name.
Yeah.
So I'm certain I reversed them a few times when I was searching for the song.
It's like a two first name person.
Yeah. So I can't exactly remember where I found this song. I think I noticed, occasionally when I'm looking around online, I see people post like cover art of different albums that they really enjoy or albums that they've been listening to a lot. And this one came up and I was like, what is that? It's for somebody who listens to a lot of shoegaze type music and, like My Bloody Valentine, stuff like that. And so I went and listened to the album and I was like, oh, it's okay. Interesting stuff here and there. And, but then this song like popped up in a mix and I was like, what is going on with this? And then I, it was like cutting through everything else. And so I listened to it a few more times and then it just became like heavy rotation where I was just kind of listening to it over and over and over again. And there's just something about it that just strikes me in a way. And it's not really a typical type of song because it's very, it doesn't really have like a verse, chorus, verse type of, what do you call it? Structure. But I really, really like the melodies and I really like the sort of despair and depression of the lyrics. Like it is pretty awful.
The song definitely creates a mood.
Yeah.
And it puts you in it very quickly.
Yeah.
I will say this though, my first impression was, I don't know if you guys have seen the Man on the Moon, the Andy Kaufman movie.
Yep.
Well, they talk about it, it's a tribute to his career in life. And one of his big gags was he would have the screen on the TV show go all fuzzy. And the point was to have the viewer at home get up and hit the side of the TV.
Right.
Because they thought that the TV was acting up, because back in the old days, that's how you fix the TV.
Yep.
Fixed. Yeah. and then, they'd get up and they'd hit the TV and then the screen would go clear again. When I first listened to this song, I was certain my speakers were broken. Because it's so much, I don't know if it's distortion or what it is going on in this song.
Yeah.
But I was certain because I first listened to it on my computer speakers, which are old and are broken. So they cut in and out a lot. If I accidentally hit the wires, and I thought for sure they had met their end because this song has so much noise and distortion, and I don't even know how to describe what's going on. It basically sounds like broken speakers. But it was very interesting once I realized my equipment had not been destroyed. So,
well, and not only that, but it starts off so soft. Actually, the way I thought where you were going with that was like you went to go and turn it way up, and then all of a sudden the wall of sound hit you and just blew you away. Because that has happened to me a couple of times where I was like, I'd put the song in with a mix of other music, and then I'd be like, what is this song? Why is it not? And then I'd crank it up, and all of a sudden. And but that's another one of the things that I really like about it. And yeah, it is very dirty. Like all of the instruments I think are like have some sort of distortion on them except for maybe the drums.
But I think even the drums have distortion.
Yeah,
like they're playing like
there's
they're playing
something there.
in like sand or something.
Yeah. Yep. So what did you think, Dan?
Yeah, so thinking of it as a shoegaze song or like sort of an ambient post-rocky type thing, it's the first time I heard it, I was trying to not watch the video, which you recommended avoiding. But that's the first that came up. So the first time I heard it, I kind of was thinking, oh yeah, I didn't really think, oh, my speakers are broken, but I thought I was kind of like, just sort of thinking about how sort of it's not muddy at all, but sort of like how if it's coming through static is kind of the thing you get.
It's like there's a bad wire somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, like there's a poor ground in the audio somewhere, but so thinking of it as a shoegaze song, like, sort of, I'm not a huge shoegaze fan, but I have some My Bloody Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
So I can appreciate it on that on a little bit of shoegaze. So thinking of it that way helped me like listen to the song more, because I looked up a little bit about the band after I heard it the first time. I was like, oh, it's trying not to be liked is kind of feeling I got. So I read a little bit about that and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Once you sort of go, oh, okay, shoegaze, I was like, all right, yes, okay, it's just ambient noise that you sort of have to sort of wrap your head around before you listen. I listen to it more after that, and it does this interesting thing where if you think of it that way, you sort of like all the distortion is it's kind of like a layer that the actual melody and the singing kind of works its way through, and I think it works better when you're thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
And when you're reading the lyrics, it's definitely like hopeless.
Yeah.
And,
someone was in a bad place when they were writing those lyrics.
Nihilistic. So
yeah.
Thinking of as being sort of like, I don't know if this was the intent, but for me, it works on the level of he's so disconnected from everybody that, even as he's sort of lamenting, his misery, it can barely be heard by everyone around him, because it's just everyone just has all this distortion in the way, kind of separating everybody. So
mm-hmm.
It's definitely like an apathetic, I don't care, I mean, it's about the fact that it's not good that he doesn't feel anything. When he does, he doesn't want to feel it. But so the music really, really suits the lyrical content, and that helps it work better for me. I found once I looked into it a little bit, I was able to, I feel like it's one of those songs that I would like more and more the more often I listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a little effort to kind of get into it. And I don't, I'm not to a point where I love the song, but it does make me want to find out more about Have a Nice Life. It sounds like this album, what is it? Death Consciousness.
Yeah.
That it's on is sort of like a cult classic among sort of indie shoegaze type people. It makes me want to check out more of the album, just because it's sort of a non there's no desire to make it easy to listen to. Like they made a point of just making it the way they wanted it to sound, and not sort of pandering in any way to your sensibilities, but it really gets that message across really effectively, because it's all that distortion on every instrument, all the sort of like feeling of being disconnected or barely connected around you. That's perfect for the song. So I thought it worked really well, and I like it. I feel like perhaps if I listened to it a lot, I'd like it more. But it makes me curious about the band as much as anything else to see what else is on that album.
Yeah, I mean, the whole album is good, but this one really sort of stuck out to me, especially I think the bass line was what really grabbed me the most, which is, it's hard to get to the bass line amongst all of the, the noise.
Yeah, I was going to say, what bass line?
It's there. It's definitely there.
You don't seem to like headphone listen to it.
Yeah.
more, I think.
But I've listened to all three of their albums, and they have some pretty good stuff. I never remember the name of the the band. I'm always like going on search for it. I'm like, what is that called again? Have life, have your life nice. Whatever. Just find this. I don't love. Just find the I don't love song, and then go from there. Yeah. But no, I just, there was something about it that and how different it is from so many other things. Like it just really kind of struck me as like, wow, this is kind of out there. They really went all in on like not giving a shit about.
Screw you, listener.
Yeah. We're
That's
gonna break.
what you want from somebody making music for you to listen to, right?
We're gonna break your speakers. Have a nice life. Yeah.
All right. Well, do we want to vote?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna place the first dissenting vote. I do not think this was a good song.
Okay.
Despite all your, Dan, you almost turned me, but with your explanation of how this sound and how it's supposed to isolate the listener from the singer, and that's but it was just too much. The noise. Maybe I'm just getting old.
You were
maybe
born
this is a sign of it, but I didn't particularly enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, that was my first take, but I've also listened to some sort of I think I've probably not as much as Zach. Zach's more of a dabbler in all sorts of different stuff, more avant-garde approaches. But I think I do a little more of that than you, Dave. So I think I had that same first reaction, and I thought, okay, so how can I like this, or how can I enjoy this? I sort of, there was like an inkling of, all right, I need to like think about this and try to find more in it, and that's what led me to do a little bit of looking, a little bit of thinking, and then listen to it a few more times. And I'm gonna give it a yes. I think it's good. I don't think it's one I'll be popping on too frequently, but I think you talked about this, Zach. It came up in a playlist, and sometimes the context of a song really makes it pop out for you. And I feel like it's the kind of song that it's about the mood you're in. But like, I feel like in the right movie, if you heard it in a movie, it might be, you just be like, oh my God, this totally works. Or, oh, I love that song, that kind of thing. I haven't heard it in that context yet, but I kind of like the commitment to the sort of the full static, separation, disconnected feeling, and it gave me just enough to give it a yes vote on that. But I totally get where you're coming from, Dave. The first time I listened to it, I was like, well, this is uncompromising. I don't want to make it easy to like.
Yeah. So I'm going to also give it a yes vote. And the thing for me is like, I don't like to be depressed, and I don't like to dwell in those areas, but there's something about feeling something different, and this song does that for me. It really puts me in a different place, and I can't necessarily say I enjoy it, but it's sort of the same sort of feeling I get watching like The Road, the movie that's based on the Cormac McCarthy. It's very despairing and awful, but it's enough of a different type of feeling that I don't have very often, that I'm okay with it, and I like to dwell there very, very little. You know what I mean? It's like just occasionally I want to see what that's like, and then I want to come back to the other side. And that's what this song.
Just a little squinch of despair and sadness.
Right.
Well, I think that's what's great about music. I mean, movies and stuff. You talked about The Road. I don't think I've ever actually sat through it, because I read enough about it, about how sort of like depressing and nihilistic it was. And I find as I get older, I'm less willing to give 2 hours over to that sort of feeling. It's because it's challenging. But like, a song, like a 5, 7, whatever minute song, what I love about music, and you know, you said you don't like to feel depressed. I think I don't like to feel organically depressed. I don't want to like be depressed, but I do sort of love hearing a sad song and, you know, like sort of dwelling in that for the 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. I totally get that. There's nothing better than letting a song take control of where you are emotionally and bring you to a place. And then you can leave that place. You know, you can have that 7 minutes, 5 6 of despair, and then come back because you can leave that song in the track that you just listened to and move on.
Right.
But I don't feel like the writer of this song wanted you to come with them.
Probably not. No.
Yeah,
I feel like they're saying, "Hey, I'm going here, and fuck you.
Yeah.
You're not coming with me.
Yeah.
Fuck
Even if you
and your ears.
fuck you and your ears."
No, I agree, Dave, and I think when it gets into these sort of like ambient, sort of distorted type things, I think it really depends on your personal preference or your tolerance for that sort of thing. So like it's a totally like it totally makes sense to me for someone to be like, nope, that was too that was too unmelodic and staticky, and I just that there wasn't enough there for me. Like that totally makes sense that you would take it that way. I just, for some people that isn't as much of a barrier, and so then they can enjoy it. The song actually makes me think of, it's not even very similar sounding exactly. It's just sort of like the themes are similar, and the sort of my feeling when I first heard it, it's How to Disappear Completely by Radiohead on
Oh yeah.
Computer. That was a song that it took me a little bit, and part of it is, it came out in 2000, right? So that's a long time ago, and I hadn't listened to as much variety of stuff, and it sounded very, very different from the Bends and even OK Computer. But that song is equally sort of hopeless, and it seems to want. It seems to be using being disconnected, as a sort of strategy for survival. But that's a song where all the distortion in the strings and the sort of there's also, it's not nearly as sort of staticky or sort of over the top in its sort of distortion and stuff, but there is enough sort of non-conventional, popular music stuff going on there with the dissonance in the strings and the sort of there's ambient track playing the whole time behind it. And once I heard that song enough times in the right context, it became one of my top like 5 Radiohead songs ever. It's a little more approachable, I think, than this is, but that's what it makes me think of, the sort of like deliberately pushing away. It just, at the very end of this song, the vocal comes to the fore as everything else sort of backs out.
Yeah.
And there's moments like that in How to Disappear Completely too, where like everything pulls back for a minute so you can hear, Tom York's falsetto, and then it swells back up and kind of covers it up. But I feel like it's like I really admire this song, and which is why I can say that I like it, and I feel like if I listen to it more, I could really, really like it. I just feel like it's going to take time or hearing in the right context to sort of be all in on it. But I admire what they're trying to do in the sort of like commitment to getting the mood that they're writing about across in the music.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think for the next one, we're going to go, well, I know we're going to go in a totally different direction. And it'll be a song that I pick. And you may have heard this song, but I'm not sure. It's a song called I Don't Know My Name by Grace VanderWaal. And if you've heard it, I've got a backup one.
I've heard of Grace VanderWaal. I can't say that I've heard that song knowingly.
Nope, I have not heard that one, I don't believe.
All right, so that's what we'll do for next time. And yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
I caught it on audio.